What do you do when you're staring fear in the face? Or is it your constant companion every day, throughout the day, just in the back of your mind, stealing moments of wins and joys and successes from you? Are any of these things that you struggle with in your day? Well, I will tell you that we are going to talk about a handful of tools that I recently had to use and realized they sounded awfully familiar from some other recent episodes. So we're going to be talking about some powerful tools you can use when you're staring fear in the face. I'm Erica, and I am your host of Powered by Joy podcast, and I just want to welcome you if you are somebody who is seeking to have more joy, wins, and shift from feeling stuck, fearful, lost, bored, frustrated. This podcast, we are just seeking different ways to make shifts in our lives and get more empowered to have a bigger capacity to have adventure, play, pleasure, joy, all of the good stuff in our lives. And so stick around if you are somebody who definitely wants some tools to use when you're staring fear in the face, okay? Welcome. We just returned from being at the racetrack to do a track day on our motorcycles. And this is a seasonal activity for us. And I noticed that I have a seasonal pattern related to fear and my mindset while I was there. And I realized that each season I go in and I start slow and I'm like, oh, I'm just brushing the dust off, and I get frustrated because I'm finding myself not as fast as I used to be. And like, I'm really in my head about what I'm doing wrong and just focusing on why am I so slow? Just like asking these really not empowering questions and just focusing on that, and just getting really discouraged with myself and feeling like, I don't know what's stopping me. Like, I don't understand. And I had somebody question me about that and like what was stopping me. And it really boiled down to fear. But what was pointed out to me was that it is all in my mind. And that on this very podcast, we talk about that subject and tools for working on our mindset all the time. So I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. Ouch. Good truth to hear. Good reminder. Just a good reason to stop and look back at this pattern that I obviously had every season, where I would start off slow, it'd take me the whole season, and then at the very last weekend when we're there, like I would push through and I'd finally get back up to the pace I ended at last season, and it'd be like the last two sessions, and it would be like, now the season's over and I didn't make any progress. I just caught to where I was, and so then I'd be discouraged with myself again. So I noticed I'm having this yearly pattern in the last few years, and I decided to get curious. And so through this experience, I had to go home and kind of question things and ask that, why do I keep repeating this pattern around fear? And when I got quiet and asked, I realized that I was dealing with fear, obviously, but fear of lack of control or trusting myself. I had fear around trusting myself. If something went wrong when I was pushing to go a faster pace, like, was I going to be able to handle it? I wasn't trusting that I had the ability to go faster and push past my fear. And there's just a lot of fearful thoughts around not feeling like I would have the capability of dealing with something if it did go wrong, and that if I made a mistake on my motorcycle, like that the consequences could be really painful or serious, or like I wouldn't be able to deal with them or something like that. Kind of is what it all boiled down to. So I came away going, oh, that's so fascinating. Now, if I were to remove the fact that it's about motorcycles and I applied this moment to anything else in other areas of my life, I had tools that I would use and I would work through them. And so it was like, why didn't I think about using those same tools and applying it here? So I'm going to just dip into some tools that I think, whether you're riding a motorcycle and trying to go faster on the track, or whether it's that you are putting yourself there and applying for a job that you're terrified to do, or maybe you just have massive anxiety and fear every time you have to drive and you're fearful of getting in an accident, or maybe you're fearful of trying a new hobby and you're really wanting to push yourself out of your comfort zone and meet new people, and that's really uncomfortable for you, and it's something that you feel a lot of fear around because there's a lot of lack of control in that situation and you don't know how you're going to deal with the outcome if it doesn't go right or you say the wrong thing. Fear can stop so many things, good and bad, but good in our lives. And so yes, we want caution and we want to make sure we're thinking things through and making good choices for ourselves, but also how often are we letting that fear stop us and rob us of experiences and growth and learning because we're so worried about the outcome or not being in control of the situation and not trusting ourselves to be able to grow into something else and be able to show up and have a conversation with a new person to make a new friendship. Or maybe you're looking to be in a long-term relationship or you're in one and you've always had a fear around really expressing your true emotions and your needs in the relationship, and that's really scary and fearful for you. And like, how do you overcome these things when you're staring fear in the face? So next, we're going to touch on some of the tools that, if you've been listening at all, are probably going to sound somewhat familiar, but we're going to talk about some tools that I used and I realized really helped me, because when I was out there and I started using some of my tools, I realized one of the things I was doing was not looking ahead and looking where I was going. I was looking down at the corner I was in too long. So think about this. So applies in life. If we have a problem or a fear or a thing we have to overcome or a goal we're trying to accomplish, oftentimes we're so focused on what's stopping us from getting there or the fear of what's going to go wrong, and we're just staring at that, then we can't see the other outcome or where we're going or where we're truly trying to get and the possibility that we're going to get there just fine if we get our eyes on the prize. So where our focus goes, energy flows, right? So if you're focused on what's going wrong, you're focused on that problem right there, and you don't have your eyes up going, okay, this is where I'm going. This is why I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone, because I want to have a deeper connection with someone. So I'm going to push past my fear and express my emotions and my needs and open up communication and be really vulnerable. It can apply in so many areas of our lives, but these tools are going to be helpful. But I also had that aha again about like how important it is to more often be focusing on where we're going and why, keeping our eyes up and looking and not focusing on the problem so long that it slows us down. When we focus on the problem, it slows our progress. It stunts our growth. It slows our pace. And so we've got to keep our eyes up and on the prize. So that's just a little side note that came to me while I was processing all the things that I learned while I was there. And that's why I love the motorsports, because I feel like there's so many lessons I learned there on the track that so apply in my real life, and I've used them in real life, but it's like, oh yeah, I need to turn around and apply them back on myself when I'm at the track too. So here are the next steps that we're going to touch on to use as tools. Okay, so one is something you've probably heard before if you've listened, and that is observing the feelings or the fear or the moment, the thing. Observing and just becoming aware of the fact that we are stuck or feeling a little paralyzed because of fear or lack of trusting ourselves. Okay, so we're just coming into there and we're doing it without judgment and we're using curiosity, because that's when you start to be able to make change. So I'm going to go back to my story really briefly. And when I first saw that pattern and had somebody say something to me and it was like, oh, my old self would have been like really hard on myself and being more critical with my self-talk in my mind. And instead this time I found that I was able to get curious and go, okay, this is something you're battling. Now what are you going to do? Like, what thought pattern are you needing to change? So, okay. Number 2, reflect and seek out what you're doing well. I was thinking about this I looked back and realized I'd come off the track and I'd look back and reflect on the session, and I thought of everything I did wrong and what I wanted to improve and didn't like what I did. I would encourage you to, when you're doing something, striving for something, trying to do something different, maybe it's about improving your communication in a relationship or at your job, take some time and reflect and choose to look for what are the things you did do right? What are the things that you are good at? How do you communicate? So maybe you are good at setting boundaries and you need to acknowledge that. So just looking at the wins, what you were doing right, and not just solely focusing on the things you are fucking up. Okay. So I definitely found that I wasn't doing that. And so that was setting me back, right? It was slowing me down. And then, so we just want to take some time to reflect and ask, what am I learning? So I went out there. Okay. I did this. I need to adjust and maybe go a little further out and attack the turn at a different angle. Okay. So I learned something. It wasn't that I failed and made a mistake. I learned something. So trying to have that mindset of what am I learning when we're going into these moments where we're trying to do something new that we're scared of and we're trying to make progress, and it takes away the fear of getting something done right. Like we've got to take that, we need to take off that picture we have in our mind of getting everything perfect or right, that fear of perfectionism and doing and looking stupid. We've got to set that aside and just give ourselves a little compassion that, hey, progress over perfection is what's important. Thank you, Coach Camille, Coach K, for teaching us that one. So after you've reflected, or even during your reflection, I would love to encourage you to journal or write down, at the very minimum, in that reflection, if you don't write it down or put it on your phone in notes, is write one win that you noticed in your reflection. And then what is one intention you can set so that when you're dealing with this same thing that you're really fearful around, what is one thing you could do the next time you're doing it? So for me, that next session, when I went back out on the bike, instead of picking 50 things to be working on or worrying about, I went out there with one intention of improving one thing, focusing on one thing. And so it cleared my mind of all this other stuff and made room for some enjoyment of the moment. And then our next step is visualizing. So this is something I do when I start out my morning. I visualize how I want my day to go. And I've built that into my morning routine of like, okay, this is what I'm doing today. I'm visualizing it going well, just getting blessed with an awesome parking spot or getting that phone call, someone picking up the phone, making that right connection, getting answers. I do the same thing at the track, like visualizing. And so what you're visualizing is powerful. So can you visualize the best version or it going right? So for me, it was visualizing myself riding around the track, doing really good at that one thing I had an intention around improving. So choosing one thing instead of 20 and setting that intention in the morning will usually make better progress. So 1% each day better is a lot of progress at the end of the year over you trying to do 20 things and trying to improve at 80% for one day. That's over the whole course of the year, not very much progress, right? So I hope that was a decent analogy and you get what I'm trying to say is just picking one intention instead of too much and really putting your focus on it so that you can see the improvement. So visualizing yourself winning or improving or having that conversation and it turning out well, and how then the secret sauce to the visualization is that you tie emotions to it. It is proven scientifically that when we feel and tie emotions to those visualizations and we experience it, that means, like for me, it would be like, okay, I'm out on the bike. I feel the wind on me. It's cold outside, or I smell race fuel in front of me from the bike in front of me. And I feel how smooth I am. And I feel how my eyes are looking up. Like it's about bringing in all your emotions and all your senses. So what can you see, feel, taste, touch? Like what are the sensations? And then what are the emotions you feel when you do it well, or you've accomplished the goal, or you've pushed past your fearful moment and done the thing you're scared of doing anyways? Feeling that victory and that pride or that strength or that power you feel inside, like tapping into it before you do it, is super powerful. And so I realized I was slacking on that because in the past, I would always visualize myself as soon as I came off the track, and then I would right before I went out for another session, I would stop and visualize myself doing a really awesome lap, and it did work every time I did it. And I realized I was slacking off on that. So I implemented that at the last day, and ta-da, I magically started cutting my times down and getting a faster pace, and my eyes were going up and things just flowed smoothly. So it's powerful in setting your intention in a day, visualizing it. It's just as powerful to envision yourself succeeding at what you're wanting to accomplish that feels scary in the day, and visualizing it going right and you winning, because we all spend so much more time worrying about what's going to go wrong than visualizing and daydreaming about what could go right. And that is powerful. That is a powerful secret sauce, is tying those emotions into feeling that win, assuming the win, okay? Like just experiencing it. And then the last piece I wanted to talk about is gratitude. So I realized I was out there and kind of just robbing myself of like just feeling gratitude for being out there and having the option and ability to go out there, ride a motorcycle, go super fast without getting a speeding ticket on the street. Didn't have to worry about driveways or, other road hazards of other drivers. And it was in a more safe environment, controlled environment. And I, until the last two sessions, was like, I haven't just had that moment of like, yeah, this is awesome that I'm out here. And so I realized, oh my God, I did not express gratitude and feel gratitude for just having the ability to be alive, physically capable, having the freedom of time to get up there and have this lovely track day. Like I wasn't in that headspace at all. And so I robbed myself of joy and happiness of enjoying it. Like I was there just like focusing in on the shit. And it was like, what the fuck? So it was like, as soon as I kind of visualized that, and then when I was out there, I actually had moments of like, oh, this is amazing. This feels so good. I love how I feel when I'm out here. And it was funny how that's all of a sudden when my times just started dropping, when I was in this completely different headspace. It's all in your mind so often. And it was just like, So gratitude. So maybe you're not doing it when you're out there on a motorcycle, and maybe you're not doing it when you're out there in the middle of a conversation that doesn't feel super great, but can you just express gratitude for the opportunity to speak up or make connections with people or do a new hobby that terrifies you, and you tried it, whether you did it well or not, that you even tried it, like gratitude towards yourself for like having that willingness and openness to even try. So gratitude helps us expand that positive energy and vibrations in our body over the fear. So really in the end, this was about, am I putting on a fear lens, fear lens of everything I was seeing, or was I going to wear glasses that were like love and trust and gratitude? And I had to choose. And I realized, whether I did it on purpose or not, I was choosing a fear lens in the last few seasons that really fucking robbed me of a lot of joy. In the meantime, I was like, oh my gosh. So I would say one of the other things that when you feel really stuck or like you're not making progress on something that maybe you're having a lot of fear around, there is not enough to be said about seeking coaching or guidance or outside perspective from other people. And for me, like having a conversation where someone's like, check your mindset, dude. That was really helpful for me. But also there were other people that gave me input about specific things I was doing. And it was like, oh, I didn't even realize I was doing that. I was just controlling the bike in a way that I didn't even realize I was doing. And so it is so powerful for us to get outside help and seeking the guidance of people who are faster, better, or done the thing, or good at what you're trying to accomplish or do. So maybe you start talking to someone who's really good at having conversations and setting boundaries because that's something you're terrified of doing. Seeking that coaching and that guidance is super powerful too. So I just want to encourage you that if this is some area you feel stuck or like you're not making enough progress, or you just haven't been able to step in and punch fear in the face in a specific area, seek guidance, seek counseling, seek coaching. get some outside perspective on your situation, because sometimes we're so stuck on focusing on the turn we're in or the problem we're in or the fear we're in, we can't see where we're going. And so oftentimes we need someone to go, oh yeah, remember, you're looking over here. This is where you want to go. They help you clear the fog. So I wanted to also just make sure you know how powerful that can be too when we're really feeling stuck. So for us to no longer rob ourselves of opportunities to feel wins, successes, growth, joy, pleasure, adventures, let's punch fear in the face by using some of these steps that we talked about today and acknowledging how much power we have within ourselves to make change just by working on our mindset with these free tools that we all have access to. So I wanted to just kind of share my real story of a really current struggle, and this is a work in practice. So next season when it comes up, I'm going to be in advance visualizing, working on this stuff, and then I'm going to bring my journal next time, and I'm going to do these steps next season, and I'm going to see where that takes me, because I believe that I can shift my own mindset and tackle it different next season. And I'm going to do that. That's a big focus for my 2025, and I'm excited about it, and I trust myself to be able to handle the outcomes because I've done it before. So I want you to also not rob yourself of opportunities to expand, grow, learn, joy, have wins, and setting boundaries or putting yourself out there to make connections with people or have more experiences or, going on new adventures. Like, don't let fear rob you of that anymore. So if you are somebody that you really got something out of this and you know somebody who struggles with this, please share with them. And I would love it if you would like, or even share some of the things that you come up against. I'd love to hear some of the wins you've had when you've been facing fear. So I'd love for you to comment and share that with me. So please share a time that you overcame your fear and shifted your mindset, because it's always good to share those victories with each other, because that also expands our wins and our joys and energy and our vibes. So it's good to share. And I would also love to invite you to check out my resources on my website if you are someone who wants some guidance and coaching on overcoming these things and tackling feeling stuck, fearful, and lost. All those resources are in the show notes. And I just want to thank you for joining me for another episode, and I'll see you soon.